Yeah, first of all, I just want to talk about the Barrios meet real quick. It was a great success. We're really excited about the growth of the meet, and it really came off really well. We had a lot of people that really, a lot of the feedback has been tremendously positive from the teams that came, and it's exciting to see that growth. One of the things Coach Henry talks a lot about that he feels kind of gets undervalued a little bit is the impact on the community of having events, and because I think cross country and track kind of are kind of in some people's eyes kind of niche events and stuff like that. They don't quite get the attention. But having 43 schools in, most of whom are spending at least 2 nights in hotels, I mean that's I know when we travel, we usually have somewhere between 15 to 20 hotel rooms when we travel in cross country with support staff and athletes and everything like that, and multiply that by 43 and for at least one night, because even the Houston area schools come in for one night, but most of those schools are in for 2 nights. That feel like that has an impact on the community, and that's something he wants to kind of get that awareness out there, I guess. So, but we're excited. The meet went really well. The teams ran well in the biggest it's ever been. So now we're heading into the SEC championships. Obviously, our goal is to improve on what we did last year, to take it another step in the right direction. As many of you know, in our sport, there's no the regular season. The SEC season is all one day. So. We don't get to compete against Tennessee one weekend and then evaluate what we did, and then the next weekend go against South Carolina. We have to be ready to face everybody on one day, and that's exciting because it's an event for sure. It's a lot of pageantry. It's fun, but at the same time it's a lot of pressure to be on that one day. And so one of the things I learned a long time ago is our kids are smart enough to know I don't need to make it a big deal, because our kids are smart enough. They know it's championship time of the season. They know it's important. So I try to keep it fairly low key and kind of treat it like it's any other meet as we head into the championship time of the season, because I don't need to add to their stress and anxiety.
Any questions? We'll start front row on the right side to Travis and then to Tyler.
I know with any of the running seasons, it's about kind of building to where you peak at the right time. How do you feel like that build's gone for team-wide for both teams?
Yeah, I mean every year we kind of you do this long enough, you realize there's kind of a formula for doing that, but at the same time there's individual differences, and you have to kind of get to know your individual student athletes. And some of them, some of the athletes we coach, once you're around them long enough, you realize, oh, this person doesn't. Some people react really well to cutting back their volume of training and kind of traditional sharpening up for championship time of the season. And there's some athletes that they get really stale doing that. So we kind of individualize things in regards to the volume this time of year of training. But it's gone. We've run better really every week out as a team. There are, we sometimes get caught up as in our sport with coaches and athletes feeling like, okay, well, this is the big one, and so we got to all be perfect. Man, if we all hit our A+ race today, we're going to do this. Well, nobody ever hits their A+. You can't have. We're not going to have 7 people hit their A+ race on the same day. It's just, I've been doing this long enough that even the legends in our sport, the Bill Bowermans, et cetera, the John McDonalds, they win championships by having a lot of people run B+ races and maybe a few C's and maybe 1 or 2 A's in there and stuff like that. So. I mean, I think more so than the physical, it's the emotional and how relaxed we can go in there and just focusing on doing the things we know we're capable of doing. It's like any sport. I mean, the more tense people are, the tighter they're going to be, the tighter they're going to run, the worse off they're going to be. So so mentally and physically, we're hoping that we're at our best when it matters over the next 3 weeks is when we really want to be at our best.
You mentioned you don't have to emphasize how big of a meet it is. Is there actually the opposite? Do you have to try to help some of the racers relax and kind of just settle into it's another race? How does that
Yeah,
go?
especially the younger ones. Yeah, a lot of times the younger ones, because they hear, oh, this is the SEC championship, and our kids are really, we try to set up our season, and one of the things all of our meets during the regular season are dress rehearsals for the championship time of the season. So what I've tried to do is, like, we went to Boston. Boston was chaotic because it's a crazy course. And so I tried to remind them, hey, this is the kind of chaos you're going to see at the championship time of the season. Go to our home meet this past weekend, or last weekend, sorry, with 43, 400 runners on the line. It's all, guys, athletes. Like, I had one of our freshmen say, I thought I was further back. I couldn't see my teammates. And so I thought I was further back in the field. And so I picked it up to move up a little bit. And then I realized there was Eric and Chung and those guys. And I thought, wow, now I'm out too fast, And part it's like, it's where in the championship time of the season, you've got to learn to trust yourself when there's all this chaos going on around you. I mean, there's runners on runners on each shoulder. People don't realize how, unless you're ever really close up in a championship cross country race, people don't realize how physical of an event this can be. You've got people rubbing shoulders with each other. Somebody right in front of you, their spikes are kicking you up and cutting your shins, and somebody right behind you stepping on your heels, and you're trying to keep your calm and do what you trust your training and trust where you're at. And that's a learning process, especially for the young athletes. Because if you're in the front, if you're where Cazares is, he knows what's going on. He's right there. But the races hinge on the people. Your fourth and fifth runner back there, and they could be running great, but they're looking around seeing lots of bodies. Unless they're getting some feedback, they're like, I don't know if I'm running great or if I'm running terribly. And that's where that experience and being able to trust, hey, yeah, I'm fine. I know I'm fine because I know what this feels like. I know that this race went out fast, or we're out slow, and my position is good. So it's experience, and it's. I don't know if I answered your question. I jumped all over the place there, but yeah, there comes a little bit of like, just trust yourself, and once you learn to trust yourself, you'll be okay.
We'll go back behind the lights in the middle to Tyler and then to Donna.
So, Coach, with what you've seen, kind of what are your expectations for both your teams here at SEC?
Well, it's hard to say because we haven't seen all the other teams in the conference. I think our women's team is better, surprisingly better than we thought it was going to be. So I think last year, we were 7th on the women's side last year, so we want to move up. On the men's side, we were 5th last year, and kind of identified it as, and it sounds kind of a strange way to look at it, and this may be changing in the world of NIL and stuff like that, but there's 4 schools in our conference that invest heavily in distance running. It's a significant part of how they build their track program, is because there's no such thing as cross-country scholarships. The cross-country scholarships come from track and field, and we were the next. We were the best of the rest, I guess, and we probably beat a couple schools that are heavily invested in distance and cross-country. Now our next step is how do we step up, and how do we do things the way we do things and move up into that next group, so it's not chance and luck. It's because of, it's by design that we're moving up into that top echelon of the SEC. So right now, that on paper, that's probably where we are about. There are the 4 schools that have kind of separated themselves on paper, and we're in the next school on the men's side. On the women's side, we're somewhere in the middle. It just depends. It's really the crazy on the women's side. You can look at even at the Barrios meet. There was Utah Valley, who was ranked 24th in the country. They won, and they won pretty convincingly, but then it went like, I think it was UCLA, Boston College. I mean, there's like the next 6 or 7 schools were separated by about 30 points, and that's kind of the way women's cross-country has become. There's so much parity that it's really going to boil down to, it's going to boil down. Somebody we're going to look at the results at the end of the meet, and there's going to be a team that's 4th and maybe a team that's 7th, and you're going to go, gosh, if these 3 girls had passed 3 people in the final straightaway each, then maybe we're 4th and versus 7th, or fifth instead of sixth or whatever you might have it. So it's going to boil down to, I think, who's gonna step up, and who's gonna be able to execute what they're capable of executing, rather than taking a step back and running tight and running nervous and scared. So.
We'll stay back behind the lights on the left side to Donna.
Yeah, Coach, what are some of the focuses that you are able to kind of implement during the preparation ahead of this meet? And is there any way to kind of emulate that chaos that you talk about that happens like during a race?
Yeah, I mean, that's why we went to meets like Boston, and why we're so happy that the Barrios meet has grown into what it's grown into, because we do talk about that, like, and talk about relating it to the meets later in the season. So that's really the only way we can emulate it, is by having those regular season meets where we do face that kind of challenge, that kind of chaos, and just openly talking about it. When I was a younger coach, I used to be like, oh, I don't want to scare them. I don't want to make them nervous. But as I've gotten older, I realize, like, our kids aren't dumb. They like I said, they know what they're going to face. And so let's openly talk about it. Like, hey, there's going to be a point in the race where it's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be a point in the race when things might not be going well for you. You have to make that choice, because, I mean, it hurts. I know it. I did it a long time ago. It's uncomfortable. You're out there, and your body's screaming at you, and your brain's telling you to slow down, and you got to remember, kind of have that fluid intelligence to think on your feet and go, even though this kind of sucks right now, so to speak. I mean, it sucks because it hurts, but I got to stay focused on what I'm doing, and kind of just relax and let it happen, because most of us, when we get in those kind of situations, we tighten up rather than relax and let it happen, let our ability come out. And so we talk a lot about it. I mean, we're pretty open and honest about, hey, you're going to be uncomfortable out there. You gotta fight through that discomfort. You got to listen. You got the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and the devil's telling you to slow down. The angel's telling you, get your butt in gear and let's pass a couple more people. And you gotta make the right choice.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you.